Let's get straight to our strategy session. Joining us are two CNN contributors, the Democratic strategist Donna Brazile. She's joining us from beautiful New Orleans. And here with me in Washington, the former speechwriter for President George W. Bush, David Frum. Guys, thanks very much for coming in. David, let me start with you, and I'll play a little clip. This is John McCain speaking about Susan Rice, who potentially could be the next Secretary of State if she's confirmed. Listen to how he phrased it over the weekend.
We give everyone the benefit of explaining their position and the actions that they took, and I'll be glad to have the opportunity to discuss these issues with her.
That's a lot softer, obviously, than what he had said only a couple of weeks or so ago when he said he would do everything in his power to try to block her confirmation if the president nominates her. What's going on here?
Well, a lot of things came out of Susan Rice's mouth in the aftermath of the Benghazi killings that were not true. And the question is, who put those words in her mouth? Were they her own idea, or were they placed by somebody else? And the record is increasingly showing that she was reading notes created for her by other people. Now, whether or not reading notes created for you by other people is a desirable attribute in a Secretary of State, it does shift some of the blame for saying things that weren't true away from Susan Rice.
Let me let Donna weigh in on that. She says she was reading notes that the intelligence community talking points had created for her, and she was strictly sticking to that script, which it turned out to be inaccurate.
Well, Wolf, as you know, in the fog of war, we often get, at least the intelligence community, they've gotten things wrong. I mean, Colin Powell, using some unclassified documents, got it wrong in the before the Iraqi war. But look, I think the important thing is that Senator Graham, Senator McCain, they're walking back some of the hostile comments they made just a week ago. Susan Rice is very qualified. If the president decides to nominate her to be the next Secretary of State, she's had a wonderful tenure at the UN, not only in dealing with the crisis in Iran and North Korea and so many other hotspots across the world. I think she brings a lot to the table. Her qualifications, she worked in the Clinton administration as well. I would hope that if she's nominated, they would give her an opportunity to, state her case and confirm her as the next Secretary of State.
Well, let me let David weigh in on this part of the question, because you worked in the White House, in the Bush White House, so you're familiar with what's going on. If somebody goes on 5 Sunday talk shows and they prepare talking points, if you will, if you're the principal spokesperson making those points, are you obligated to simply read those talking points or memorize them, or do you bring your own expertise, your own knowledge to the table?
Well, it depends on how formidable a character you are. But there's another problem, which is those talking points were not, they didn't just happen to be wrong. They were crafted to be wrong. The Obama administration had an embarrassing problem. 4 dead Americans, including an ambassador. A lot of suggestions of negligence and lack of preparation. So they were very eager to pin the blame on something else that would deflect blame away from them, which is why they put so much emphasis on the story about the video, this silly video that seems now quite clearly not to have been the cause of Benghazi. That was, Washington covering its behind, and whether Susan Rice was a principal in the covering or not is unclear, but it was covering. One more thing to Donna. Look, Susan Rice's main qualification for this job is that back in 2008, when most of the Democratic foreign policy establishment lined up with Hillary Clinton, she lined up with President Obama. That's why she's got this job, not because she's one of the outstanding foreign policy figures in the United States.
You know, David, she worked in the Clinton administration. She brings a lot to the table. She's an Oxford graduate. She has foreign policy experience.
That's true of dozens. That's true of dozens of people.
But let's go back to September 11th. September 11th, there were protests all throughout the Arab world and other places across the globe regarding that video. What Susan said, and she even qualified her statement that morning, she said there are still more details to come out of this investigation. There are 3 investigations going on. Why in God's name is everybody trying to pin the blame on Susan Rice for getting the talking points wrong. I don't understand.
I think actually what is happening right now.
I can deal with that, but I'll put her qualifications on the table any day and stand behind Susan Rice.
Look, what is going on right now?
It's not just because she embraced. It's not just because she embraced President Obama in 2008. She worked with honor and distinction in the Clinton administration, and if that is her only qualification, look at her record at the UN. Look at the toughness she's had, even on the issue of Israel when the Palestinians tried to get statehood. You want to bring the issues up.
The president can have whoever he wants, and I'm a believer in I'm the believer the president should have the president's people. So, and if the president's priority is people who are politically loyal to him, that's his prerogative. It's his administration, and the Senate should probably confirm them. But that does not alter this crucial fact, which is that the story about the video was concocted to avoid embarrassment. And it's what is interesting, the reason Susan Rice is having a little bit of an easier time this week is it's increasingly clear she was not the person who concocted the story. Somebody else did. But that does not change the fact the story was concocted.
But
and
let
it was
me just
concocted
point out,
as an excuse.
David, the
well,
intelligence...
you know, David, once the investigation...
Hold on. The intelligence community says they wrote up those talking points for her. Are you suggesting the National Intelligence Director or the head of the CIA, they were concocting a politically attuned story, if you will, for the U.S. ambassador to the UN?
I don't know who was responsible for it. That is the thing that we are going to discover.
Well, they say they did it. The White House, they say it wasn't a White House decision.
It would not be unheard of in the annals of the United States for intelligence officials to write reports with an idea to protecting themselves from embarrassment. That is not unheard of.
Well, one final, I want to move on, Donna, but I want you to react quickly to some of the assertions, the accusations that have been leveled at Senator McCain, Senator Graham, that there's an element of sexism and even racism in their opposition to Susan Rice. Do you believe that?
You know, I know Senator McCain, and I don't think he would go that low. Susan Rice, as I mentioned, is very qualified to hold this position if the president, and again, I don't want to prejudge what the president may or may not do with regards to Susan Rice. I think she has served with honor and distinction, and I'm not going to, you know, make this about anything other than if the president nominates her, I'm willing to stand behind her and fight because I believe she's a great public servant.
Donna Brazile, thanks very much for coming in. I appreciate it. David Frum, congratulations to you. Your book, Why Romney Lost, now a New York Times bestseller. There it is, Why Romney Lost by David Frum. Good work. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
The fiscal cliff has more than a few Republicans rethinking their opposition to taxes, and the anti-tax pledge that once kept them honest might not be worth more than the paper it's written on. What's going on here? We'll speak with the number 3 Republican in the House of Representatives. Kevin McCarthy is here, the Majority Whip. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Good work.
Thank you.